Welcome to Miracles in the Madness, where faith meets the chaos. I'm your host, Ashton Keever, and together we'll explore stories, biblical truth, and encouragement for women living in the beautiful, messy life God has called them to. Each week, we'll dive into real-life testimonies, practical encouragement, and biblical insights to help you walk faithfully through the everyday madness. Ready to get started? Let's go. So as many of you know, I think I told this story on here before, I became a parent about 1 month before our little world around where I live shut down because of the COVID-19 virus. At that time, I cannot imagine a worse scenario for beginning my parenting journey, because I was personally sitting in this place of longing for more community and more connection and more advice from other Christian mamas who have gone through what I was experiencing. I found a deeper longing for the Lord and interest in gaining a deeper relationship with Him. I had no idea how much community really would matter in my faith journey. Now that we have come on the other side of COVID and I finally have found this very large, well-rounded group of supportive and encouraging women around me, I want to share them with you. And I want to encourage you to find the same community. But I know some of us aren't in a position where we can just go out and meet people. I want to invite you to participate in this community of faith-based, strong women in Christ who are ready and able to encourage you and support you and pray for you. And you can find them on Facebook at the Miracles in the Madness community. I'm going to link it below. I want to invite you to participate, because if there's one thing that I think really came out of COVID that we all learned, is that while virtual friendships and working relationships and things like that they're not always perfect. We learned how to communicate and grow friendships and relationships through online forums and opportunities, so that we could then take what we were learning in those groups and maybe in those workplaces and bring it out into the world. And so that's what I want to do in this community. But more than anything, I want the mamas who join this group to feel like at any moment, if they're struggling with anything, if they need prayer, if they want to ask for advice, or even ask questions about the Bible studying that they're doing, I want you to know you can come and participate. So I hope you'll join us, and just reach out to me if you have any questions. The link is below in the show notes. Welcome back to Miracles in the Madness. I'm Ashton Keever, your host, and I'm sitting down here again with my friend Lori Hancock to talk a little bit about the next part of her story. So if you missed the first part of her story and you didn't get to hear about who Lori is and maybe why I would be having her on my podcast, I would encourage you to go back and listen to the last episode with Lori, and you'll get to hear about her foundations in her faith and about how much work she does for all of the campers and people who come through High Hill Christian Camp. But for now, we're going to jump back into her story. So we kind of left off in her childhood, kind of after her brother had passed away, and kind of her finally kind of coming to this realization that maybe the behaviors that she was displaying in her youth were maybe not honoring to his memory. So Lori, let's just jump right back in.
Absolutely. So we talked a lot about church camp in the first one. Obviously, like Ashton said, my husband and I work at a church camp. We've been in camp ministry for 20 years. 2 different camps, but both of them 10 years. And so my kids have never known anything but camp ministry. We actually started camp ministry when our oldest I was 6 months pregnant with him, and he just turned 20 last month. So he's got a beard. We always say our ministry has a beard. It's wild to think, side note, if you've got littles, and I know you're sick of hearing this, but it goes so fast. Yeah. So 20 years went by way quicker than I ever would have imagined. The first 20, on the other hand,
for real,
not so much. But so, yeah, I grew up going to church camp. We talked about in the last episode, I kind of made a pretty good shift around my junior year of high school, an intentional shift of realizing that I needed to, my words and my actions needed to align a little bit better. And my thoughts and my everything, like my
right.
life was not congruent with the things that I said I believed. And so I'm a preacher's kid. We talked about that in the last episode as well. Preacher's kids have a lot of pressure put on them. One of the pressures that I had put on me was that I was going to go to Bible college. That was a non-negotiable. And so I knew that my parents didn't have all the money in the world. Again, preacher's kid. Mm-hmm. And growing up at church camp, there were these things called the Camper of the Week scholarships. They were given out to one boy and one girl camper got Camper of the Week, and then there were runner-up Campers of the Week. Oh. And each of those got a certain number of credit hours to Ozark Christian College. And so I knew that I was going to get those. I would put on whatever type of good little angel show I needed to do to make sure that I got those hours. I got runner-up 2 years in a row to a girl who actually ended up going to Ozark the same year that I did. And so she and her husband are in ministry. So shout out to Summer beating me both years. But so anyway, I went into Ozark with these runner-up Camper of the Week scholarships, which were a total of 28 credit hours for free.
Wow.
Huge scholarship. I mean, and then on top of that, like we talked about in the last episode, I'm an overachiever. There's no easy way to say that. I am if there is something put in front of me that is I'm going to do that. And so I was valedictorian of my high school class, even though there was a girl in my class who was way smarter than I was. But because I was in athletics and everything, I was office aide and I had yearbook. And so those were easy A's. And my athletics class didn't count as one of the grades that everything got averaged into. And so anyway, long story short, I ended up as valedictorian, which also helped. I got scholarships, here and there and everywhere. I'm going to do a slight, shameless plug for Ozark Christian College. There is a need for ministers right now in the world. The ministry pipeline is not feeding as fast as what we need. Our church right now is looking for a children's minister and having a hard time finding one because there just aren't any out there. So like we talked about in the last episode, if you see people out there, young kids, elementary, middle school, high school, that are exhibiting that leadership potential, ask them if they've ever considered ministry, because it's important. It really, really is. And not that they have to go be a preacher, but Bible college might change their life, might change their course.
Absolutely.
And we need them. So like I said, shameless plug. So I'm going to go to Ozark because that's what I was told that I was going to do. And God bless the fact that I honored that commitment to him. I actually graduated from Ozark debt-free.
Wow.
And not many people can say that they went to any school.
I did not graduate debt-free. I mean, I graduated with significantly less than my peers because I also had scholarships, also overachiever in most ways. Mm-hmm. And so I relate to that, but that is a pat yourself on the back or a actually probably more of a thank you, Jesus.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, a lot of people out there just assume that Bible college is really expensive. It's actually not. We've got a son that's there right now, and this was cheaper than a lot of the state schools. And so he's actually getting a dual degree. He's doing what is called creative arts, which is like the production side of church, which I know a lot of people don't like that whole idea, but I mean, it's the world we live in now. Like he loves doing the lights and the videos, the sound, all the things. Lights is his big passion. But he's also going to go to Missouri Southern State University and get his accounting degree. So he's actually going to finish 4 years of school and have 2 bachelor's degrees.
Wow.
I mean, like,
that's a big
deal.
What
more can you ask for? So anyway, he's 3rd generation Ozark student, and I'm really proud of him. So kind of Ashton and I were talking a little bit ago. I'm in that season of life where I have a 20-year-old that's living in our basement. Hi, Braden. We have, he'll be 19 in March. That's at Ozark, a freshman. Hi, Tyler. And then we have a 16-year-old that is, we call him our Velcro baby. Like he has to be around people. He is our social butterfly that just wants to be wherever we are all the time. Hi, Logan. And so I didn't say that in the sweetie way that I said it to your other brothers, but hi, Logan.
It's the 3rd child thing. Right. I mean,
yeah. So I'm in this weird in between of not empty nest, but it's on the horizon. And also a reflective time of my life. Did I do things well enough? What would I have done different if I could go back and do it all again? So I'm going to talk about my life during my college years. And then next episode, we're going to talk a little bit about these early years with little kids and what I would have done differently. Because here's my big spoiler. I went all the way through Bible college single. Graduated with my maiden name on my degree, which let me tell you, that's about as impressive as graduating with no debt.
It is. Okay. So my husband likes to joke about this as someone who did not go to Bible college, actually. But we went to the public state universities. And so we were very much inducted and did participate in, unfortunately, the freshman 15, meaning you gain 15 pounds because you live like in your cafeteria, basically, but for the Christian college goers, I believe is it an idiom, the adage?
Yeah.
It's ring by spring, I believe.
Or your money back. Yes. We actually, so Ozark it's a very tight-knit community. And one of the things about going to Bible college is you remove that very first barrier that you have when you're first getting to know whoever it is that you're dating. You already know you've got Jesus in common.
Yeah.
You've got ministry aspirations in common. Like you can take all of that out of the first 3 months of dating, Yeah. I mean, like you start that much further down the road because you already know that at least that part of you is compatible. There's no arguing about like what faith would we raise our children in,
right?
Because you're already there,
yeah.
But then, and I believe, I don't know, that probably a lot of colleges are like this, that when you are in college, it's like a microwave of a relationship. You can, if you want to, spend as many hours together as you want, unless you're at Ozark and you have a curfew, but like you literally can just microwave that relationship, spending every waking moment together and getting to know each other. So yeah, like that whole idea of you meet somebody in the fall and you're engaged by spring is not at all uncommon in Bible college.
We may not be making a good case for moms to send their daughters or sons there.
But like I said, there are those of us who make it all the way through. So yeah, I went with the intention that I would probably find somebody in my freshman year. I mean, in the last episode, we talked about my mom going to Bible college, already engaged, sewing her wedding dress in her dorm room, her freshman year of Ozark. And so I just kind of assumed I would meet somebody my freshman year, probably get engaged my sophomore year, be married either my sophomore year or junior year. And that's just how things were going to go. There's the old saying, don't tell God your plans,
Yeah. Tell God your plans and it'll make him laugh.
Yeah. That's pretty much what, my life was. So I went from being a big fish in a very little pond. I graduated with 25 people, to being in a big pond, which it's really not that big, but it was to me, it was huge. And I was a little fish, and I still thought that I was
a big fish.
And I remember my freshman year being told, you know that you are not still in high school, right? Like you are not that important. And
ouch!
Because Ashton, I was an annoying little brat. I can fully 100% admit that now, looking back on things, that I was a lot. And yeah. So my freshman year, I tried out for camp teams. Now, camp teams are teams that are formed at Bible college to basically go and represent the Bible college to different church camps all over the United States for the summer. So I made camp teams. It was little freshman me and 3 sophomores, and we're still great friends. I mean, like, we don't talk all the time, but when we do, it's like it just picks up. And those friends of mine will forever be friends of mine. We basically lived together for the summer, drove in a van to different church camps all summer, and just spent time with teenage kids.
Yeah.
All summer long, just telling them how great Bible college is, but also pouring into them, being that example. College kids are cool to middle schoolers and high schoolers. I don't know why. We were a bunch of nerds, but we were able to have that relationship. Like we talked about in the last one, kids don't hear what their parents say. It's like, it's not that you're not saying it. It's that your kids don't hear it.
Yeah. And
when you have an 18 or 19-year-old college kid look at you and say, you know what, you're really awesome. That's world changing.
Yeah.
Like they go, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Like, you're my favorite person. And they're like, what? And we got to experience that every week of that summer. And I actually was able to baptize 2 girls that summer at church camp, just through that relationship building that was so awesome. But so anyway, back to Ozark. Again, here I am, freshman year, not finding the one and wondering what's wrong with me, also realizing I'm a lot, and recognizing it was going to take somebody a little bit special to love me, which was okay, like whatever. Sophomore year, I did meet a guy, and he handled all that is me. For about 4 years, we dated off and on. And looking back, I would say that was not a healthy relationship. It was verging on toxic in a lot of ways, just the way that we treated each other. We would break up, get back together, break up, get back together. And I remember one of those times that we were broken up. I was in the dorms. I just turned 20, and I was walking up and down the hallway crying. I'm 20 and I'm still single. Like, I really did not think that would be my life. That was not my story. That's not what I wanted for myself, but that's not how God had written my story. So all my friends were getting married. They had all paired off and found their ones. And I was in a lot of weddings and loved for my friends that they were getting married, but was feeling a little left behind because I really felt like God wasn't listening to what I wanted. Which, when you're in Bible college, come on. I mean, like we just talked about in this last episode about, like following God's will, and like not questioning and like being like, God will give me what his will is for me. And I just really struggled with that because every guy that I would meet, that I'd be like, ooh, could this be the one? And God would pretty much give me a fairly strong, and just feeling like I don't understand why I'm the one being left out and left behind. I don't understand why God's not listening. And again, going back to last episode, that was dredging up a lot of negative feelings that I thought I had gotten over, of being angry with God, of why don't you answer prayer? Why do my prayers not work? Why do all these other people have what they ask for? And I feel like you don't hear me. I wasn't going to do this, but I am. Gotta find it. I have my Bible that I got in 1996. I'm an old person. I know. My grandma gave me this Bible, and my other set of grandparents actually gave me a Bible when I graduated from Ozark. And I used it for like all of 2 weeks and couldn't use it anymore because the Bible that I use has all of my notes, all of my highlights, all of my everythings. It's the first Bible that I read cover to cover. It is falling apart. Ashton it's duct tape.
It's literally duct tape, but that is my favorite thing to see when somebody brings in a Bible that is like barely hanging on. Or like a preacher, the first thing they sit down is a Bible that's like literally falling apart. Like, I know I'm talking to somebody who knows God. Yeah. Like, that to me is...
Or that just doesn't take care of their Bible.
Aspirational. That's true. That's true.
But no, this is a teen study Bible. So like on this page, it's right across from it, dating, which is really kind of
And
ironic.
It's very graphic, like 90s graphic with the shapes and the neon colors. It's pretty amazing, actually.
It's pretty wild. But I wrote my own version of a psalm when I was going through all of this.
Wow.
And I'm going to read it because it seriously is kind of how I was feeling. In the dark, I reach out feeling nothing. I clutch the air hoping I may grasp something. I know you're there somewhere, but I must find you. I cannot see anything. In the darkness, I am alone, but not lonely. I feel empty as I search, but you fill me. I cry out in pain, and yet you comfort me. Surely you are my Lord. You are all I'm looking for, my hope in desperation. In ignorance, I struggle with you, pushing you away. Come to me, Lord, and show me your grace. And that's how I felt. Like, wow. It was this massive struggle of, I know God's good. I know who God is. But I'm kind of upset with him right now because where is he? Like, why don't I feel him? Why do I know that he's there, but like my head and my heart aren't connecting, and it was a very, very rough time. And so basically kind of that whole idea of God doesn't work on our time.
Yeah.
And I know it's easy to say that because you could be struggling with, like we were talking about, you could be struggling with infertility. You could be struggling to find the one. You could be struggling with the fact that you've got a kid that is wandering away from God and you're wondering when is he or she going to come back? Yeah. All these things that you feel like you're crying out to God every day, every night with all your soul. And you feel like your prayers are hitting a brick wall. You feel like there's something in the ceiling that is like knocking your prayers back down. And so good news is there's a great ending to this story. So I graduated from Ozark with my maiden name on my degree. I said that. And it was one of the best and most frustrating days of my life because it was like, seriously, like I really thought this would happen for me by now. And it didn't, and God, where are you? Like, why? Why me? Why am I the one that got left behind like that? And so I stayed in Joplin because I got a job at Christ in Youth. We talked about that's a conference that teens can go to. That was what happened with me my junior year. Between that and church camp just kind of cemented that I needed to be on a different path. So I was working at CIY as an administrative assistant and obviously stayed in Joplin, which was kind of wild because that is not where I saw myself.
Yeah.
I saw myself getting my psychology degree and from Missouri Southern State University. And I got into my junior year and started taking psych classes and went, no. I realized that there was no part of me that wanted to spend the rest of my life sitting and listening to people and their problems. And I know that sounds really harsh, but like,
you gotta know, you have to know though, like, don't waste your money
or your time or
or
all the things, because as much as I enjoy talking with people, but I have a very honey, suck it up attitude. And that at that time was not okay. But then like Dr. Phil became a person and I'm like, man, I could have made millions of dollars and just telling people to suck it up. But
you know what? Self-awareness is really important.
Yes.
And that's what that was.
Yes.
It was the self-awareness to know that like God did not design you to listen to other people's problems and help them work through them.
Even though that's what I do a lot now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all the time. But
it's different, in the clinical setting.
I know. And I do have classes that help me, be able to do that. Because like I said, I got all the way to my junior year before I was like, maybe not for me. What really cemented the deal for me was having to take a math class. It was statistics over at Missouri Southern. And the professor, every other word out of his mouth was a cuss word. Oh. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this badly enough to have to be in that type of situation.
Right.
So I was just like, I just noped out and got my degree in, get this, my bachelor's degree is in biblical literature.
Okay.
What does that do for a person? Not much. But
I was like, give me a minute.
So they have since changed that to where it's actually a Bachelor of Arts, which, does help. Or if you're getting some others, they're Bachelor of Science. But yeah, like at the time, mine's just a bachelor. Like it doesn't have whatever. So, but I do know my stuff, which is great.
Right.
5 years of all of this getting hammered into my head really made a difference. There was a head and a heart connection that did happen, which is that's what I'm always striving for to make happen with people that I know. My husband and I both lead small groups at our church. Shout out to my 6th grade girls. And that's one of my goals, is to make sure that they know that God's word is living and active, and to make that connection between their heads and their hearts. Because you can quote scripture all day long. The demons can do that.
Sure can.
Like Satan did that to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a disconnect there, that's not ever going to do you any good. So, trying to make sure that they're getting that. And obviously my kids too, that's my biggest prayer for them, is that they have that connection. So anyway, back to Joplin. I'm in Joplin. I'm working at CIY. Again, single, I don't know. It was, I had my own apartment. I had a roommate, but I was just living life. And I was like, I don't know what God's doing. I don't know why. Like, when am I going to meet Mr. Right? And at that point, there was a time when that ex-boyfriend reached out and was like, hey, let's get back together. And I was like, sure. And then we were together for like a heartbeat. And it was like, this is just not where I'm supposed to be. This is not a good relationship. But we had even talked about getting married. Like, he actually at one point went and asked my dad for permission to get married. I think it was just because in our minds, that was the next step. I mean, when you've been dating off and on for that long, you just are like, well, I guess let's do this, but it felt okay, but not right. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like literally just the next domino falling down.
Right.
So anyway, we ended up breaking up again, and I was just like, no, we're done. That's it. God's got something else for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know when it is. Mm-hmm. I'm really struggling with the when it is, At this point I was 24 years old, and you kind of start seeing your life just slip away, to a certain extent, where you're like, where's the pool of guys, that I can draw from? Well, mine was in high school. I know that sounds funny, but it's true. So I was working at CIY and got a call from the professor of drama over there. And she said, hey, can you come do makeup for our Living Christmas Tree production? And I was like, I can't, because we've got this great big conference that's coming up in January, and there's no way my boss is going to let me do that. And she was like, ask him. I was like, I will ask him. He will say no. And she's like, ask him. I was like, hey, Gary, so can I go do this? And he's like, I think you should. Yeah. And I was like, who are you and what did you do with my boss? Like, there's no reason why you would let me do this. I'm dumbfounded with the fact that this was November. We had this huge conference coming up in January and February of that year. And he was like, sure, take a week. Like, no. And so anyway, I get over to Ozark and I start setting up the makeup room, and this guy sticks his head in and then pops right back out. And I was like, what did I just see? You know, like, was that somebody? And so I go out into the hallway and he's just kind of creeping there. And I was like, you can come on in. He's like, no, I'm okay. So I like walk back in and I'm thinking, man, that guy's cute. And so apparently he kind of had the same feeling a little bit. I mean, like, people joke about love at first sight. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, because we were like instantly like, who is that person? I need to get to know them. And we exchanged like 3 words, you know. It's just, it really, really weird. So a couple days later, he was sitting out in the hallway. He's always early to everything, which, you know, green flag. And so I was sitting there, I was talking to him, and I was like, so where are you from? And he's like, Oklahoma. And I was like, bigger green flag, because I'm an Okie. And I was like, well, where are you from? And he told me, and I was like, oh, I grew up like an hour and a half, 2 hours from there. And so we started just talking about things. And then I was like, okay, moment of truth. How old are you? And he was like, well, and I'm all the time in my head, please God, don't let him be a teenager. Don't let him be a teenager. And he was like, I'm 20. And I was like, yes, you are dateable. And so again, I'm 24, he's 20. We seriously like started dating that week. Our first date was December 12th. He went home with me for Christmas and met my family, which back to the Ozark bubble, like, right. To us, that made perfect sense. You know, to the outside world, 2 weeks is like, you're doing what now?
Right.
You know, but we literally had spent so much time together. Ironic thing, we just found a folder that he had from college, and my phone number with my handwriting is in there from when I gave him my number at the end of that Christmas production. And he was like,
awesome.
So my kids were like, ooh, origin story. And so, yeah, it was just it was a whirlwind. We were looking at engagement rings in February on Valentine's Day.
Like 4 months later?
Like 4 months later.
Wow.
Let my parents know. And my dad's like, are you serious? Because you really thought that the last one was the one. I was like, no, Dad, like the last one let me know what the one's not.
Yeah.
And I know that this one's the one. And funniest part of the whole story, our very first date, well, I got to back up a little bit. When I was with the other guy, and we broke up that very last time, I got out my journal and I wrote 2 whole pages of what I wanted. You know, God, please give me this and this and this and this. And I prayed over it. And I was like, these are the desires of my heart. And I am recognizing now, after 4 years of off and on dating the wrong person, what I feel like the right person looks like. Down to like color of hair, color of eyes. Like, I want him to be tall, you know, all these things that were like, this is my wish list, God, and I'm just going to put this in your hands.
Yeah.
And I really did not expect much of all, you know, I mean, it's like,
right.
You do it and you know that you're doing it and you're like, God can do this, but do you really believe that he will? You know?
Right.
And so, John showed up for our first date, and like the psycho chick that I am, I pulled out my journal. And I was like, I need you to tell me if you are this person, because I have wasted the last 4 years and I am not interested in wasting any more time. Like, I know that this is going to be crazy, but like, I need to know if you're in this or not. And apparently to him, like, he was like, well, I'm ready to be serious. So like, yeah, let's like skip all of that junk and, you know, just dive in. I told my boss the next day, who is a doctor of psychology, and he basically called me a psycho chick. He was like, if he didn't run away from you when you did that, lock it up, girl, because, you know, like, he's willing to deal with your nuts. So, like, I was like, I'm just crazy. But yeah, John and I go together like peanut butter and jelly, and he is the best partner that I could have asked for in life and in ministry. And his story is so completely different from mine. And yet we work together really well. Okay, so most people don't work with their spouse. Like, you have your job, he has his job. Like, you do your own thing. You come together in the evenings, you have dinner together, maybe you watch a show, you know, tuck the kids and go to bed. John and I literally spend like every day together. And some people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, we're literally best friends. We share all of our time together, and we're fine with that. Like, he is, like I said, the peanut butter of my jelly. We just love spending time together. We go on trips to Lowe's. That's our day date, and we love it. Like, I don't like when he leaves and goes someplace without me. Because it's just, I feel like half of me is missing.
That's how I feel when Zach leaves. So there was a period of time where I was working from home most of my week. And it got to a point where like working at home was more stressful than like if I would have gone to the office or gone. But like in the office, the rest of my team wasn't there either. So I would go sometimes and work with Zach at church. And I loved it. I think he loved it too. Like, we just really enjoyed spending that extra time together. Also, like, that time together, just us, because it wasn't even escapism, because our kids were where they were supposed to be. We just got to take advantage of that extra time, So I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And when you have that type of compatibility, it's unique. So I love doing that with him. Again, that was modeled to me with my parents in ministry. My mom and dad, every Thursday's my dad's day off. Every Thursday, I can guarantee you at noon, they're either at Sam's or they're out eating lunch. Like, that's what they do. Like, they do that together. They go, make hospital or nursing home visits and then, do their thing on Thursday. And so like that was a relationship that I wanted, and God blessed me with that, even though it took way longer to get there than I thought it would. But his goodness in that is so much better than anything that I asked or imagined, and John was everything on my list. Like, it's amazing how God just honored that sacrifice of trust.
Yeah.
That I was just like, all right, God, I've just got to give it over to you, because obviously my little radar's broken, that I can't find the guy that you really want me to be with. So you're just going to have to bring him to me.
It's funny did I tell you that I also had a list for Zach? Yeah, this is just another thing we had in common. I don't know that I ever took the time to write mine out, because I was never much of a journaler. I am now, but I wasn't before. Mm-hmm. But my grandma had this whole conversation with me once about, you should find a guy who's this and this and this. And, I took her advice and I wrote some things down, but I was very good about taking note of the guys that definitely showed me what I didn't want.
Absolutely. Zach
met every single thing on my list, sans one. And it was that he was younger than me.
Yeah, I don't know that I had age on my list, which, in hindsight.
It was but what's funny is like my type, right, is older. Mm. I don't know why. That's just what I told myself. Mm-hmm. But I mostly dated boys who were younger than me. Mm-hmm. Usually it was like a few months or maybe a year. Zach is like 18 months younger than me, so it wasn't like that crazy.
Well, and most people that I tell this story to, like, we were telling this to some of our friends that are camp leaders. We just got back from a camp leaders conference. And somebody that we've known for like 10, 15 years. I don't even know how long we've known Chris. I was like, so tell us your story. And so we started telling him, and they're like, hold up. What do you mean John is 4 years younger than you? And I'm like, hey, just because I age, well, but we always joke that I am really immature for my age and he's mature for his age. And we meet somewhere in the middle, and nobody actually really ever knows that there's 4 years between us. But yeah, it is our joke that like God had to put this other guy in my life as a placeholder.
Yeah.
Because literally John had to get out of high school.
Right.
Yeah. So, because, there would have been something really wrong about, so, but yeah, and now neither of us can ever remember how old we are. No. Once you get past a certain age, you're like, I don't know, I'm in my 40s. And you have to actually do mental math. Like, it's an even year. That means I think, and then you say your age and you're like, no, that's not right. He actually told somebody the other day that he was 44. I was like, you're 43. And he's like, am I? I'm like, yeah. So, it's just, you get confused, and does it really matter? Age is just a number.
For real.
But so going back to this whole idea of just, being frustrated in the waiting, because waiting is not easy. Waiting is never easy. Waiting is not where anybody wants to be. You hate it, Yeah. It's like you have this expectation of something happening and it can't get here soon enough. But, knowing that God has better doesn't always help you mentally, and it doesn't even help your heart. It's like you know it, but trusting it is a totally different thing. So we were talking about being nerdy and, like my favorite book of the Bible is Habakkuk. Which
love that for you.
Most people probably don't even know how to pronounce it. Like where is it? It's somewhere in the Bible. Yeah, it's way like in the back of the Old Testament. It's like 3 pages long. So the people of Israel are obviously like having a pretty hard time. Really hard go of it. Chapter 1, Habakkuk is basically asking God, how long? Like that's literally the words. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Like, granted, this is a little bit more important than like, finding Mr. Right. But the cry of the heart is the same, of God, why do I feel like my prayers are hitting a ceiling, and I feel like you're not there. Right. Not that I believe you're there. I know you're there, but my feelings are, telling me lies right now. And so God answers him, and then Habakkuk complains again, and God answers him again. And, like this, it's a really good book. If you've never read it, go take a quick read, because it is a quick one. It's 3 chapters. But the very, very end, and this is like Ashton all the time asks her guests, what's your verse? This is my verse. And here's the ironic thing. This has been my verse since like the late 90s. And as much as I try, cannot memorize this verse. I can memorize all the other verses. Like, I can memorize things. I still know my best friend's phone number from high school. Like, John all the time makes fun of me because, like, you ask me, like, anybody's birthday, I can pretty much tell you. Kids that come to camp, like, I can be like, oh, yeah, they're from so-and-so, and I can sometimes even pull up their address in my brain. Like, it's ridiculous how much my brain retains. Not this verse. And I say all the time that I think that that's because God wants me to actually open the word when I'm thinking about this, which, I think is important, that, even though you've got it in your head to actually crack open the word, or like that preacher from the one that we talked about last podcast, he says, turn it on or open it up, Right. So like, use your Bible app, on your phone and get into God's word, and, it'll seep into your heart and not always into your mind, Right. Like sometimes it just doesn't stick, but that it's there. I know the exact page that this verse is on. I can turn right to it, but, calling it to memory, goodness, why? I don't know. But so this is the verse. This is Habakkuk 3, 17 through 19. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vine, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to go on the heights. And so that verse to me has always just said, even in the bad times, God is still God. God is still good. The world can be falling apart around you, and I can still rejoice in the Lord and be joyful in God my Savior, because he does enable us to go through the hard places, the places that are rocky, that hurt your feet, that you don't understand how you're going to get up or get down from where you are, and he's there, and he knows your struggles. He knows your pain, and he calls you into fellowship with him in the midst of all of that. And that's what he was asking the people of Israel to do here. Like, come back to me. That's all I'm asking, is just trust my goodness.
In my small group, we're kind of talking about discipleship, but the specific study that we did last time was about Mark 6. where the disciples are in the treacherous storm in the boat. And the question was, how did they get themselves in this predicament? It's a trick question. Jesus made them get in the boat. Mm-hmm. He made them get in the boat. I never read it like that, but it's what the Bible says. Jesus made them get in the boat knowing that they were about to experience this extremely rough time, that they all probably thought they were going to die there. Mm-hmm. And if it was about saving them, if it was about calming the storms, the person who was teaching said Jesus wouldn't have had to walk out onto the water. It was never about saving them or making it go away. It was about them getting to know who he was and trusting him in that really scary, rough time. And so that was why he walked on the water to them, because he didn't care about all the other stuff. It was them he was after. And it was kind of a commentary also on why do sometimes bad things happen? Why does God allow this stuff to happen? It's because if he doesn't push you to grow, or if he doesn't push you into something you don't want to do, you can't grow in the ways you have to grow that you wouldn't without it. I don't know if that even made sense, but
it does. It's the same thing as when you're teaching your kid to ride their bike.
Absolutely.
Like if you all the time hold on to the handlebars, they're never going to learn to do it by themselves. And if they fall over once or twice, it teaches them how to have that balance. I mean, like you have to go through hard things.
And it teaches them that I fell off the bike, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
So this is a really scary, hard time, but I survived. Mm-hmm. So what's it that I won't again?
Yeah. And mom and dad are still standing right there, you know, like they saw me fall, but did they want me to fall? No, but are they okay with the fact that I fell because I learned something?
Yep. Yeah,
that's the hard answer. We need to do hard things, because without the hard things, we don't grow. The hard times and if your life was just one rainbow after the other, what kind of person would you be?
Oh my gosh. And how boring would your life have been? And I've started to see life, I like to do testimonies. I like to hear other people's testimonies. I like to share other people's testimonies. That's a big part of this ministry. Right. But what I've found is, when people I know that are going through something rough, I try to remind them that this is part of your testimony. Mm-hmm. This right here, how you handle this, how you go through this with God or without him, becomes
your story.
Yeah. What do you want that story to look like? But also just like, trust that this is just another step in your story. You are going to grow in ways that you couldn't without this trial. Yeah. And it's sort of hard to share that information with people who don't believe or don't understand what Jesus did for them. But I'm trying to find ways to share that and maybe let it be a moment of ministry, because I personally can't imagine something scarier than getting a terrible diagnosis or going through something really hard and thinking that there's nobody that cares. Mm-hmm. I don't know how people do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's something that I'm trying to do in my own little ways, but I think, thank you for sharing your favorite verse with us. Absolutely. And I think it is absolutely a part of your story.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that it's remained my favorite verse for so many years says a lot about the things that I feel a lot. I feel left behind and, not seen.
Yeah.
A lot. Even though we just talked about, I am a lot. I try to put myself in the center of spotlights and, not as much anymore, because somewhere along the way I became an introvert. I don't know when or how that happened. But seriously, the fact that God continues to put me in places that is a constant reminder of I am here. And even though there are no figs on the vine and there are no grapes on the branches and there are no sheep in the stalls. Look at me, I'm remembering the verse. And I put my Bible away and but that he calls that to mind of like, I'm still good. I may not be the kind of good that you expect, but I can make everything good in my way and in my purpose and my time. And at some point, you'll be able to tell this story to somebody that will hear it and it will resonate with them. And they will say, wow, that's where I am. You know, I mean, and that's what preachers do every Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when they sit there and they relate their stories, you know, I mean, us preachers' kids that have been how many different illustrations in our lives, you know, but that it's relatable. You know, you want to hear people's stories. You want to, that's why we read books, you know, because these people that start out with like, you get to know them and then they have this great big whatever happened to them. And then in the end, it's a happy story, you know, and you wouldn't read the book if there were no angst in the middle of the book.
Absolutely. Yeah. There has to be something that's sort of triggering the rest of the story to move on. And that makes me think about, you know, I just want to call out the waiting. Mm-hmm. You were waiting and calling out to God for like 4 years before you met John. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not just in relationships. Maybe you're waiting on a pregnancy. Maybe you're waiting on a child, no matter how that child comes to you. Maybe you're waiting to become a parent. That is hard.
Yeah. To
sit in that waiting. And like when we talk about waiting, my brain always goes to the Israelites, just like making eights in the desert, like waiting to get to the promised land. And I think the big fear in that waiting is, what if I never see the promised land?
Okay. So now I'm getting ready to blow your mind. Beth Moore, I don't even remember when or how she talked about this, but talked about how Moses died up on the mountain. You know, he could see the promised land.
I know where you're going with this. I'm excited. Say it, preach it.
But he didn't go, you know, like he was not allowed to go into the promised land. And why was he not? Because he basically, I was just reading this to John the other day. It was so funny because Moses wrote all of, you know, those books in the Old Testament, you know, and was like, so when the tabernacle was completed, this is what Moses said. When Moses finished the work, Moses wrote that. Moses didn't do the work. Yeah. The Israelites did the work, you know, under God's supervision, you know, and God's direction. And Moses did oversee it, you know, and tell them what they were supposed to do. But he's not the one who did it, you know. Anyway, that's a whole side story. Anyway, so he goes up on the mountain and dies because he disobeyed God when he hit the rock, when God, you know, and then I really strongly believe after reading, you know, this multiple times at this point and in this point in my life, hitting the rock was not the problem. Right. It was that he basically said, do we have to give you water from this rock? And did not give God the glory. And, you know, like that's even what it talks about, you know, you didn't give me my due. You know, you basically said, I'm providing for all these people, not God. And so when Moses goes up on the mountain and God says, you can see the promised land, but you're not allowed to enter because you basically disobeyed. Which is that's a hard thing to get over when you think about all the things Moses did and that one action kept him from the promised land. But then Jesus comes but Jesus, right? I mean, like, and so you guys know the story of the transfiguration. Hopefully, if you don't, you can look it up in any of the gospels. I think, is it in all four?
I don't know if it's in all four.
I don't remember. I'm forgetting some of my Bible college knowledge here. But anyway, transfiguration. Jesus goes up on the mountain. And who's up there with him? Moses and Elijah. And Moses is literally standing in the promised land with Jesus. He is not only stepping foot in there, but he is seeing his Redeemer, his salvation. The reason why he is able to step foot in the promised land is because of Jesus, because Jesus came to be that reconciliation for us, that no matter what we did, he's enough. He can bring us into the promised land. And how freaking awesome is that?
It's awesome.
Like when you recognize the fact that Moses did one thing, and God said, nope, that disqualifies you. But then Jesus comes and all of a sudden everything's okay and Moses can be welcomed in, and Jesus is enough. And like you said, we don't have to be scared of tomorrow because Jesus is enough. We don't have to be scared of the waiting because Jesus is enough. We don't have to be scared of the negative test or the positive test, depending on what situation you're looking at, like a diagnosis, whatever. We don't have to worry because Jesus can take us up on that mountain and say, here you are in the promised land with me, and I am enough. I take away all of that. And it's just so, like I said, I'm geeking out. Like, it's so awesome when you think about that. Like, everybody always points out that Moses and Elijah, the prophets and the law and the prophets, are being represented up there. But the fact that Jesus got to bring Moses to the promised land with him is just, it's goosebumpy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You have to love a God who completes a story like that.
Oh yeah. And like, just in case you didn't catch it, like, God's ability is not hindered by life and death.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. So maybe in this life, you don't get to see your children, right? Like, maybe you don't experience it in the same way, but someday it'll all make sense.
Yeah. It's just
in ways you can't predict. Like, I don't know.
Right. What is your promised land, that you think you're not able to access, but through Jesus, he'll bring you there. And we'll talk about this a little bit next time. There was a time where I was getting negative pregnancy test after negative pregnancy test. And you go back to that whole worry, of, do I really believe that God's enough?
Yep.
And, that, like I said, the sacrifice of trust comes into play, and how hard that is. I mean, that is so difficult, to basically just be like, it's okay, God, I trust you. It's easy to say the words. It's a lot harder to actually mean them, and to live them, because, it just is the waiting.
Learning to trust God has been a really big part of my story. And I want to say I'm getting pretty good at it, but
he'll try you tomorrow.
Absolutely, he will. I know he will. So, well, I think that's a good place for us to pause and come back next week for more of the story with Lori. In the meantime,
that rhymes.
It does. I didn't even mean to do that. Hair flip. So in the meantime, keep an eye out for those miracles in the madness. Thank you for listening to Miracles in the Madness. I hope today's episode encouraged you and reminded you that even in the chaos, God is present and faithful. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with a friend who might need a little encouragement today. This helps more listeners like you find this podcast. You can connect with me and find devotionals, resources, and faith-filled tools to support your walk with God at ashtonkeever.com. You can also follow along on social media or join the community where we continue these conversations and walk this journey together. Remember, God is still writing your story. He's working in your everyday moments, and you are never alone in the beautiful chaos of motherhood.